In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I bear witness there is no God but God, and Prophet Muhammad is the slave and messenger, and I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected Satan. So in this video I'll be discussing how Imam Mahdi, the Mashiach, will fight in the cause of God intellectually, spiritually, and also physically in self-defense purposes, as Allah has outlined in the laws and commandments, in the revelations of the Quran, Torah, and Injil, and other scriptures that Allah has bestowed humanity with. So the Quran is the perfect book of law, it's a perfected book of law, so my main focus is within the Quran right now. There are many divine laws on how to fight in the cause of God. I'm only giving you a few, just a little bit of a taste of some of these divine laws and how to fight in the cause of God. I am preparing a divine book of law for the Quran, a divine book of law for the Torah, and as well as the Injil of Jesus, inshallah, to help organize these divine laws and commandments of God in a simple and easy way to understand in one simple book, inshallah. So I'm developing that. So these are just a few, some of the more interesting ones, but it's a lot more in depth, so I'm just giving just a few out of very many. So to understand this on a more deeper level, we need to understand them all and incorporate them all, inshallah. So Imam Mahdi the Mashiach will be fighting in the cause of God, spiritually, intellectually, and physically. Imam Mahdi the Mashiach made a covenant with the creator of the universe that he would endure all the hardships and all the trials that will be put upon him on this great task for him to help save humanity, help uplift and ascend humanity, raising the frequency, raising our closeness with Allah, the unique creator of all that exists. And this is done by doing what Allah makes lawful, staying away from the unlawful things that Allah forbids. And this brings one closer with the creator, living in a paradise state. So by doing what Allah makes lawful and stay away from the unlawful things that Allah forbids, this brings about a paradise state, and this sort of fills the energy all around us, lifts up ascends the entire universe into a higher vibration, and manifests this paradise state, and increases all sorts of amazing things in creation. So we'll start in chapter 8, verses 60 to 62, and this is discussing the duties of the believer to prepare armed force at the frontiers and to always incline towards peace. So when Imam Mahdi has established his divine government and has his people within, abiding by the divine laws of Allah and staying away from the unlawful things that Allah forbids, Imam Mahdi will have a military force that will guard the perimeter, the frontiers of their land base, as to guard against evils, and not for any aggressive. Allah does not like the aggressor, but this is just to repel evil. So Allah says here in chapter 8, verse 60 to 62, "Believers, it is your duty also that you keep prepared to meet them with whatever you can afford of armed force and of mountain pickets at the frontier, to strike terror thereby into the hearts of the enemies of Allah, and your enemies and such others besides them that you do not know, but Allah knows them. And whatever you spend in the cause of Allah shall be repaid to you in full, and you will not be dealt with unjustly." So Allah's saying there, whatever you can afford. It doesn't matter if you have the latest technology or not. Whatever you can afford to provide defense at the frontier. Allah has many armies, has angelic armies, has armies from other alien races that can come and assist, has armies that we can't even imagine of, armies of jinn, etc., of different animals and insects. Allah has many armies in His arsenal, so we just need to do our part in our capacity, and Allah will always make the believers triumphant. So in the next verse, Allah says, and if they incline towards peace, you should also incline towards it and put your trust in Allah. Surely it is He who is all-hearing, all-knowing. So Allah knows the hearts of all beings. He knows the ins and outs of all the creation, seen and unseen. So if a foreign entity wants to make peace with the believers, then we are also inclined towards peace as well. If they intend to desert you, remember that Allah surely suffices you. It is He who has strengthened you with His help, and with the believers. So even if people want to desert Imam Mahdi, the Mashiach, it doesn't matter. Imam Mahdi, Mashiach will proceed forward, even if people desire to desert his cause for the cause of God, because God will suffice no matter what. Like I said before, Allah's army is vast, and all the different animals, insects, and extraterrestrial beings. Allah has a vast army to support His believers. So we'll move on to the next verse to help us understand these divine laws even more. So we're going to go to chapter 22, verse 39. So Allah says here, permission to fight in self-defense is now given to those Muslims, the believers, against whom war is waged for no reason, because they have been done injustice to, and Allah has indeed might and power to help them. So Allah, like I was saying before, has all the might and all the power in many different aspects of creation. And it's to, we have permission to fight in self-defense. If we're done injustice to, if our land is being waged against, if war is waged unjustly for no reason, and they've been doing injustice, the believers are being done injustice to, we have a right to self-defense, and Allah is with us in this cause. So Imam Mahdi Mashiach will stay within the commandments of, we'll say in the commandments and laws of Allah, to stay in the highest vibration and energy, and to have the maximum amount of help from the creator of the universe by doing so. So we'll go to the next verse to help us understand how to fight in the cause of God. So we're going to go to 52 verses 42. So it says here, do they intend to wage a war against you? But remember, it is those who disbelieve that will be the victims of their own strategy of war. So let me read that again. Do they intend to wage a war against you? But remember, it is those who disbelieve that will be the victims of their own strategy of war. So this is just to reinforce that Allah, the unique creator of all that exists, is on the side of the believers, and it's our duty to do what Allah makes lawful and stay away from the unlawful things that Allah forbids. And the disbelievers will be victims of their own strategy of war. So that if the disbelievers have superior technology, have superior numbers, Allah will make it that they will suffer they'll be victims of their own strategy of war. So if they try to come with numbers, well, Allah can outnumber them in angels or other forces of creation. If they come with high technology, well, how are they going to fight the technology of angels and of other possibly extraterrestrial alien forces that are aligned with God, the creator of the universe, to support the believers here on this planet? They will be outdone in their high technology. So that is why Allah was saying in the previous verse that I mentioned that defend the frontiers with whatever means you have. Doesn't matter if it's only a sword or whatever, even low technology. Allah will suffice for the believers. So we'll move to the next verse. So Allah says in chapter 60, verses 1, this is Allah saying not to take the enemies of Allah as your friends, and Allah knows what you conceal and what you profess openly. So Allah says, O you who believe, do not take those who are enemies of me and to you for friends. So Allah doesn't want us to take the enemies of Allah, and the enemies of Allah are also the enemies of the believer as your friends. Would you send them messages of love and friendship while they have denied the truth that has come to you and have driven out the messenger and yourselves from the homes merely because you believe in Allah your Lord? So Allah is talking about how Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and his followers were driven out of Mecca from their homes because they professed in the one God, Allah, the creator of the universe. How can you do so if you migrated indeed to strive in my cause and seek my pleasure? Whom some of you make secret offers of friendship and love to them, while I am fully aware of all that you conceal and all that you profess openly. And whoever of you does such a thing, let him realize that he has indeed strayed away from the straight path. So you're going to stray from the path if you're taking the enemies of Allah as your friends. They're an open enemy to you. It's like taking the shaitan as your friend. The shaitan is an open enemy to us, and to defend against the shaitan, to defend against the enemies of Allah, is not to take him as your friend. To do what Allah makes lawful and stay away from the unlawful things that Allah forbids. There are many believers out there that we can take as our friends, that we can trust and put our comfort in, but it's not in the enemies of Allah. So, and Allah is the all-seeing, the all-knowing, the all-hearing, so He knows the most innermost secrets of our hearts. So it's not that we can conceal this from God, so Allah will know if we are making secret alliances or secret friendships of love with the enemies of God. So we'll go to the next verse, and just to sort of sum this all up. So we're going to go to chapter 35, verses 43. And made them behave. So he's talking about when a warner has come to them, it makes these disbelievers even more adverse to the truth. And made them behave arrogantly on the earth and devise evil schemes. Yet evil scheming. So when the warner came to them saying that there's only one God, to do what Allah makes lawful, say with unlawful things that Allah forbids, this propels them even to do more evil deeds, more evil actions. So, and made them behave arrogantly on the earth and devise evil schemes. Yet evil scheming recoils on but its authors, on none but its authors. They are then only waiting that we should follow the same practice which we did in dealing with the people of old, and you will find no change in the law of Allah, nor will you ever find the law of Allah shifting from its course. So Allah does not shift His divine laws from its course. These are eternal laws. They're moving. They're all in alignment into a certain course, into a certain flow of things. And you can see how Allah punished the people of old. There have been many civilizations that have flourished on this earth, but have been destroyed because of their wicked ways. So, and He's saying His laws do not shift from His course, and that evil schemes recoils only on its authors. So this is the law of cause and consequence. Just to sum all this up, that if you want to do evil, particularly to the believers, well, there's going to be a more severe consequence for those actions. So this is how Imam Mahdi, the Mashiach, will be fighting for the cause of God, how he will be defending the frontier of the lands of God in his community, of his people, that will be abiding by the divine laws of God and staying away from the unlawful things that Allah forbids. And Imam Mahdi will also be fighting intellectually and spiritually in the unseen. He will be commanding angels and other dimensional beings to help in the cause of God, to fight against aggressors and people that want to squash the light of God. And obviously intellectually, in speaking the truth, and the truth will vanquish the darkness, will vanquish the falsehoods. Speaking the truth will increase our light, will help bring about the truth of the reality, to help us understand the truth of what is really going on, that there's only really one God, the creator of all things, the creator of the universes, to increase our light of our creator, to help us. Nothing happens without the will of God, to always say God willing in everything that we do, so we'll get the blessings of God, and to realize that nothing happens except the will of God. And Imam Mahdi, the Mashiach, is, I believe, in the process of rising. This is going to take some time, that we need to be patient and persevering in implementing these commandments and divine laws of God to help us understand this more deeply. So this is a process. This is going to take some time. Imam Mahdi, the Mashiach, is just not going to appear out of a cave, out of nowhere, coming out from the sky or whatever, and just by the snap of the fingers. No, this is a process. Imam Mahdi, the Mashiach, is known as the riser, that he is like the sun rising. So this is it's a process, it's a time. And day by day, the light will increase, and eventually the community of Imam Mahdi and Mashiach will be established, and then eventually will envelop the entire world, inshallah. So Imam Mahdi and Mashiach has many enemies, and these are some of the divine commandments and how to apply ourselves and to fight in the cause of God. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Take Allah as your shield. May Allah increase our light and knowledge of Allah, and may we implement these divine laws and stay away from the unlawful things that Allah forbids, to help us live more abundantly and a more beautiful and harmonious and balanced life, so we can live in paradise in this world and paradise in the next world. Thank you so much. Peace and blessings.